Hi ho, Mishka Shabali here. We are back. Been an interesting couple of weeks. I had my birthday, which was cool and fun, and also terrible because I am older. Um, Killer party with Shauna Christmas and Ron Babcock and Ryan McKee, Full Metal Mel. Myself. I had so much fun because I wasn't really performing. I was just sort of talking shit between the comedians, and man, it's so much more fun when you don't perform. You just hang out. And then weird emotional week last week. First anniversary of my friend Mark Lanigan's passing. Conveniently located 1 week after my birthday, so I can go from having a weird, good feeling, and then just feeling so sad. I had a long, weird dream about Mark last night that we were all sort of hanging out together, and I think we were like getting together to make a record, or there were a bunch of people there. His wife was there, Alan was there, a lot of his sort of musical peers, and me just hanging out, feeling weird. But at one point, I made a gift to him of a piece of art that my mother had made, which was a stained glass piece, not just sort of traditional stained glass, but like a sort of a file folder, a wooden file folder with pieces of glass cut in the shapes of mesas. Looks like the geologic structures of New Mexico, and I had gifted that piece to Mark, and he loved it. So that was the weird sort of shred that I woke up with in my head this morning after having a long articulate dream about him. I don't know. I don't need to talk more about it. It's an absence I think I will feel for the rest of my life. But still mostly positive at this point. My guest today, a man with many names, Andy Baker, Hack Oddity, another fat guy cooks. He has played a ton of different roles in my life. First as the dick at the party. I met him in 2008 in Panamint Springs in Death Valley with Stan Hope and crew. And not a fan. Not that I was great at that time, but he certainly wasn't. But somehow we stayed in touch or stayed connected, and then reconnected one time when I was touring over in the UK, and then and now we're friends, and it's terrible. He's a rotten guy. But trying to figure out how to get into this. As I met, when my friendship with Hack flourished and we really got to know each other, I got to see that there was so much more going on there than just him being like the funniest guy in the bar. And he's an incredibly intelligent and thoughtful dude. Not like book smart nerd, but a nerd about humanity, and just a very sensitive guy. Not like I'm sensitive; doesn't get his feelings hurt all the time. Although I have occasionally hurt his feelings. But he's intuitive. He knows what's up with other people, and I'm surrounded by people who are sort of continually quitting comedy or music or their podcast, myself included, and Hack didn't do anything. He had nothing to quit, but he was the guy who should be doing a thing. And then during COVID, when I was like sitting on my hands and doing nothing, he smartly started an online or a YouTube cooking show called Another Fat Guy Cooks, and it's kind of fucking brilliant. And I don't watch it because he's my friend, and I get enough of him, but I support it. And what's been really interesting for me is, as a friend, to see how his life has changed from finally investing in creating a thing, making a thing. You know, on a selfish level, it's been fun to watch him squirm of like, oh, I made a thing, I hope people like it, or I fucked it up, or, you know, and also to see like real excitement for him, you know, building his garage out into like a proper little sort of kitchen studio, for him to make terrible videos of terrible food. Another part of Hack that I've always found interesting is that he was born with 2 club feet, and I'm always interested in how we are the way we are, why we are the way we are, what shaped us. And I've had the misfortune of sort of going back through my life and writing memoirs and going to therapy and to try and figure out what my motivations are and what drives me. And I don't know, it's not something that he and I often talk about, but we've talked about it a couple of times on the road when you're in the 7th hour of a 6-hour drive and you've run out of other shit to talk about. But just sort of how that affected him as a kid. It made him into a really abrasive hard ass, made him incredibly quick on his feet, and then somehow made him like incredibly funny and incredibly sensitive and incredibly confident. I don't know, I think it's such an interesting journey. But I know Hack in a million different ways. Our sort of friendship has, we have a very full spectrum friendship from, you know, bonding about our various artistic endeavors now, and then also just the filthiest, worst possible jokes. So I don't know. I've been beating around the bush for a long time with this one, getting him on the podcast, but I really love this conversation. So, please check out his cooking show, Another Fat Guy Cooks, on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. Check out our Patreon here, which is patreon.com/Mishka Shabali. And please enjoy my conversation with Hack Oddity.
Mishka Shabali is catching up with friends who are arguably more talented than him.
Turn the light up, it does this look, which I thought would be annoying for you. You see the flicker?
When have you ever cared about whether something was annoying to me or not?
I'm trying to be nice. In fact, that's okay though.
It looks good. Oh man, I'm getting homesick seeing your little hobbit house.
My little hobbit house. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got it back to myself again. My my housemate's gone, so I'm back to alone again, which is fucking awesome.
Who did you have living there?
I had like this guy called Curtis, who's one of my warehouse guys that works for me. He was like fucking, he couldn't afford to get to work, and he was paying off debts and paying off loans on his car and shit. So I asked him if he wanted to come and stay with me for cheap for a few months to try and get his shit back together.
And did it work?
No, he spent it on drugs and then went back to being poor again after I kicked him out.
See, you're just like me. We're both such fucking dummies. We think that we're hard asses, and then as soon as there's like, oh, this kitten only has 2 legs and it just shits itself constantly, then we're like, oh, I'll take care of that. I can fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my life. I'm just going to throw all of my life on hold and deal with this thing.
Yeah, it's
good because it means you can focus on something about how your life's not falling apart. You can focus on somebody else's life falling apart instead.
I just bought another like complete piece of shit car yesterday for $1,000, and I was driving it home, and I was like making a mental checklist in my mind of like all the things that I had to fix on it, and it's a lot. And I was getting real excited, and then I was like, what is my fucking damage that I'm so excited to get this broken car home that's just going to be a pit of repairs and
you can
headaches.
Get them now that like the new and they have like these things on that beep when you reverse, so you don't hit walls, and that like let you know when you're about to run out of gas. And
when the van's about to overheat 6 times in the next hour. What's the fucking fun of that? What's the and I was out in California
because the fun is supposed to be at the place that you're going to. So you're meant to be traveling from point A to point B, and A is home and B is where the fun is. What you try and avoid is creating extra shit between the two.
Andy, I think we both know that the real treasure is not silver or gold, but the friends we disappointed along the way.
I'm not laughing at that.
It's a little too close to home. Well, I was already.
Do you need to do an introduction or something?
Don't tell me what to do. I'll record a little header at the front and tell everybody who you are and how we fell into this. But yeah, no, we're doing it. We're in it.
Okay.
I'm inside you already.
Oh, you're gonna tell me something about California. You're a bit like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes, I was feeling Californication. No, I had to drive out there. I sold my nephew this old car, which predictably, broke down on the way out there, and then he parked it and then didn't do anything with it for 2 years. And then was like, I need to get rid of this thing. And I was like, yeah, no, I knew it. So I bought it back from him, but had to go out there. My friend Sam let me borrow his truck. So he
bought a lawn ornament, basically.
Yeah. But I mean, whatever. He was like 19 and he wanted to. I'm not his parent. I mean, because parents
was 19,
are like.
He didn't really understand how money worked. You're a dick. And he bought like $1,000 lawn ornament.
I gave him a good deal on it, and I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be that person who's like, "Oh, this is a dumb idea, so you can't do it." Like, I'm the uncle. My role is to be like, "Yeah, fucking drink a Red Bull and like push your
absolutely.
Sister."
But only if it doesn't benefit you directly.
Yeah, this didn't. Well, that's act 2 of this fucking screenplay, which is where I had to drive all the fucking way out there and pick it up. I paid him, what I sold it to him for.
It hadn't appreciated in the meantime.
No, dude, he left it uncovered, so the fucking thing rusted. 1961 Studebaker. But my friend Sam let me borrow his truck, and because apparently he didn't want to like have to drive out to the middle of the desert to pick me up when my truck broke down. And I didn't realize until I got there that it was a new truck with like 7,000 miles on it, and everything on it worked. And holy shit, Baker, like, have you been driving one of these? Like, it's fucking amazing. It's wild.
That's the only thing I've been driving. They're great. You put your foot down, they go forward. They're amazing.
Remember when you had that new truck when we were on tour and it was like full of coke and you left it idling?
I've done that so many times. There's a good one the other week where I went to the pub and parked it outside on a main road outside some really dodgy looking houses, and went in the pub and accidentally pressed the boot trunk release button on my keys while I was drinking. So about 3 hours later, I come out and car's just sat there with the boot open, with the trunk just wide open to the world, and went to go and get inside it, and this guy pokes his head out of this little meth den that I just parked the car next to. He says, "Don't worry, buddy, I was keeping an eye on it for you."
This is the most fucking Hack Oddity story ever of, you had a couple of drinks and then suddenly your back door opened.
That's a few times.
Yeah, and you found a little meth hobbit in there.
I swear, my search algorithm is so broken at the moment. The things I get suggested are all anal related. I don't know why.
I like that the internet is just slowly making you gay. Is it making you gay, or is it making you realize you're gay?
It's making me gayer, I think.
A little from column A and a little from column, a little from column B and a little from column gay.
So what's this? I've never listened to this podcast because it's yours. What? So what's the deal? Do we have to like sort of act like, you know, we're nice to each other and stuff, or can we just be normal?
Well, no, I mean, the opening part of the podcast is we take our shirts off. So let's do that now. Oh.
Yeah, rethinking that one, aren't
you? I had no idea that it would be so good. That sucks. I was like,
this is a non-visual medium too. So
those are the best breasts I've seen all week. Wow.
Well, that's because, you know, are you even seeing anybody at the moment?
No.
Is that a big insult or not? No.
Yes.
You are seeing somebody.
No, I'm not. Yes, it's a big insult.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it's the podcast thing. It's, you know, funny. I woke up this morning and it's my birthday, which you haven't told me happy birthday yet.
I posted a thing.
Oh, that's right. You did. All right. Never mind. The podcast is canceled. And somebody messaged me and they were like, "Hey man, happy birthday. Huge fan of yours. I really love the podcast you do with Rich Roll. You ever going to do that again?" And I was like, motherfucker, you know that I have my own podcast, right? That I put shit up every week for a year. It's so hard to get the word out. Now we're just gonna talk. We're gonna catch up. I have a couple of things I want to quiz you about, but
okay.
But also one of the things, like when you're doing a podcast that nobody listens to, it really frees you up to do whatever the fuck you want.
Well, you see, I was thinking that, but then I was also thinking, like, do I make that joke? Probably don't make that joke because it's just going to be extra editing for Mishka.
Yes.
Like the fact that that's the first fully developed set of breasts you've ever seen. But now you're gonna have to cut around that.
I mean, cutting around your breast is something I'd already planned to do. I was just gonna Photoshop them onto a mannequin.
I was really gonna not say it, but then quickly writes down the timestamp of the video for the edit later.
So I can just loop it into a GIF. Like, cut this part out.
It's fine. I'm recording too.
No, it's been a year now that I've been doing this, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Something
I was going through your back catalog the other day. I mean, I listened to a few little bits, but just seeing all the people you've interviewed, and I am by far the least interesting so far.
I feel like I started out with an idea of how I wanted it to go, and then one of the things that's come out of it, it's you've done those podcasts where they're like themed and they ask you 5 questions and it's like fucking taxidermy. There's no life to it. And one of the things that's come out of this is that I'm horrible at like visiting with people or just talking to people, like chatting, fucking hanging out. That I've always got to be doing something, or we've got to be accomplishing something, which rather than try and remedy that character flaw, I've decided to just turn it into a podcast.
Yeah, it's because you're sober, because I can't do that either. I can do it when I drink. Like, I can hang out with my friends and talk shit drunk, but I can't just go round to a friend's house to catch up. What the fuck am I going to say to them?
Yeah, I always thought that it was like a sober problem, because I used to be able to just fucking sit on a bar stool for 10 hours and just shoot the shit forever and not do anything. And then when I got sober, I became like this, whatever this is. And then, but then I was talking to my sister one day and she was like huffing and puffing when we were on the phone. And I was like, I'm used to this from my friends, but not you. Like, what's going on? And she was like, oh, I'm doing my exercises while we're on the phone. And I was like, man, so it's like my family, that like we all have to be doing 3 things at the same time while we're socializing.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. I can't like watch a film. I have to watch a film while playing a game on my other screen and pissing around on my phone. Like that's why I can't read books. I know you get so pissed off at me about this, but it's why I can't read a book. Reading a book is the only thing that you can you just have to do on its own completely. Like
Yeah.
audiobook, great. I can drive an audiobook. I can do the fucking washing an audiobook. Everything else I can do alongside another task. But, reading a book and actually sitting down and just, my brain doesn't bite into it enough.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't going to prevent me from giving you shit for not reading my stuff in the future. However, I'm the same way. I teach writing, and every year before I go into the workshop, I'm like, oh, fuck, I better read a book because I haven't read one single book this year. And I'm about to sit down with a bunch of sort of like writing hopefuls to talk to them about writing and the dying art of reading and writing. And it's died in me. And part of it is is sort of our world of an infinite number of screens. And also I feel like we all just have brain damage from that it's impossible to just focus on one thing, to do one thing.
Yeah. It's what do they call it? It's like the endorphin overdose thing, where we're just so used to just a constant slew of reward chemicals in our brains that the second we don't get that, we're just instantly bored and scratching at the walls.
Yeah. I think about that scene from Seven where there's the addict.
What's in the box?
Not that scene, the other scene.
Oh.
Where this person's just been living there and they've just become an appetite, but because they have that constant drip of heroin, they just have lingered there in the bed,
Feeling a little bit attacked by this.
I don't know. It is what it is. What's going on with your podcast? This is one of the things that I want to talk about.
I don't have a podcast. Stop calling it a podcast.
With your little fucking cooking show, whatever your theater project, your one-man show, your fat cast, your food
My fat cast. I'm just gonna write that down here.
Your podcasts.
It's going good. I took for those who don't know, I have a YouTube cooking show that I started about 2 years ago, just as COVID started, as a way of keeping sane, that you talked me into doing because you've been hassling me to do something vaguely creative for the last 10 years. And it's been going good. I do a weekly episode. I just basically teach myself how to cook something in the week and then cook it for the show on the weekend, record it. Usually ends up being vaguely entertaining, and it's still fun for me, I think, just about. So yeah,
I'm so curious about this process because I'm surrounded by people who are always threatening to quit comedy, and I'm like, just go ahead and do it. And you're the funniest person I know. And you've and probably the only redemptive thing about you is that you've never had aspirations of being a comedian. But when we were hanging out before you started doing the show, it always just seemed like a waste because you were so fucking funny, so creative, so smart. And also you have this full spectrum sense of humor from obviously the filthiest gutter profanity to some pretty highbrow shit. And I was just like, the Hack should be doing a thing. And you seemed diametrically opposed to it until COVID happened. And then finally you fucking went in on it. Like, what was the tipping point?
So I think it was because I mean, I obviously deep down always agreed with you, but I also got annoyed at the constant, like, you should be doing something with your life, sort of, the kind of shit, because, I'm running a business and fucking employing 4 people who have decent incomes because of what I've done. And whatever. But, it's like, just because it's not in entertainment doesn't mean it's not a thing. And a lot of people I find who are musicians, comedians, fucking whatever, seem to think that if you're not, aiming towards doing something that's entertainment based, then you're ruining, you're wasting your life. So
let me jump in here just to say, you're totally right, and I totally agree with you. My friend Matt Micheletti as a comic, very funny guy, very consistent performer. He can fucking win anybody over. And I'm always like, why aren't you doing more? And he was like, because I don't want to fucking drive 6 hours to play to 6 people. You know, so I absolutely am guilty of what you're saying, that the things that I want to do in my head, I'm like, that's the only thing, you know.
But it's, I mean, but at the same time, you know, obviously, conversely to that, well, not conversely to that, but, you know, along with that is that I did want to do something, you know. I also did want, you know, I you know me, I'm fucking like a huge applause monkey attention whore. You know, if I'm not the funniest person in the room, I'm trying to be the funniest person in the room, and if that doesn't work, I'll just go find a shitter room until I am. So that, you know, and so when COVID hit, the job went away. And I was still being paid because we live in a country where, you know, they treat people vaguely like people, and not all the time, but a little bit more than you. But I know I'm just going to get comments if I go too much into that.
No, fucking go for it, dude. Go for it.
Anyway, but, you know, I basically was sat at home doing fuck all for a year, or maybe a bit less than a year or whatever, getting paid my full wage pretty much to just sit and do nothing. So I was going insane. I tried alcoholism. I tried doing lots of painkillers. I tried smoking weed to oblivion. I went through literally, you know, coke, everything. I went through all the drugs that I could get hold of, because obviously it was hard to get hold of everything because of fucking COVID. So, and then sort of realized that I was bad at doing all of those because I'm too much of like a fucking grown up these days to like get too wasted. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to do something to keep me sane. And I think me and you were talking about me doing a podcast or me doing something. We were just chatting on Facebook, and I think a cooking show. I think it was you I was talking to when the cooking show idea kind of popped up, and thought, fuck it, yeah, you know, I'll give it a go. And it because I love cooking, I love eating. Obviously, I mean, you can't see me right now, but I'm sure there's a picture of me on this podcast thing that you can see that I'm a big fat fuck. And I love eating, I love cooking, I love feeding people. I like playing around with food. I like working on shit and doing my own recipes and stuff. And, you know, I also like talking shit. So perfect combination.
It's so funny to me that that you were like, I need something to make me feel better, and I'm willing to try everything and anything, exhaust every possibility before I try doing something creative.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that.
I just didn't want you to be right.
That was your dead last option. Like,
I mean, the short period where I tried sounding was the worst.
You were like, well, we can't get fentanyl over here, so I guess I'll try making a thing.
Well, you know, like, well, apparently if you put it up the back, it goes, you get it in the way quicker. Well, I thought, well, what about putting it in the front?
Wait, did you really put drugs in your
No,
urethra?
I didn't put. No, I didn't. But funny story.
Well, try tonight.
Did you ever meet my friend Uzi?
Yeah.
I think you did. Yeah. So we were at a. He'll love this. We were at a. Freaking, I think it was called a slag do. So it was like the mixture of a stag do and a hen do. And it was just, you know, like sort of both at the same time. And we were at this cabin in the middle of nowhere out in the hills between Sheffield and Manchester. You know that drive? We've done that drive where it's just where it's just nothing. And we were all just we had so much MDMA. Like there was just so much of it. And at one point, my friend Ollie and my friend Uzi both at the same time basically dared each other to cram MDMA crystals up their piss holes for the amusement of everybody else there. And they did. And I don't know what it did apart from make us all laugh. Yeah, that's the thing that happened.
You've railed MDMA before, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, we used to do warp dust all the time, which was when we just got like half MDMA, half Coke, mixed it all together, and then just left a pile of it on the table. And we just call that warp dust and just knock off rails of that one after another.
If memory serves, snorting Molly fucking hurts.
Yeah, man, it's like glass. It's like literally snorting like shattered glass.
That is
That's why we cut it with the Coke, because just snorting. We wanted to just snort Molly, but we're pussies, so we thought we'd cut it with the Coke. That kind of makes it vaguely palatable, and yeah, don't do drugs.
I love so much that you are like, oh, we need to cut this Molly with something. Let's use Coke.
Something twice the price.
You're like, we have no baby aspirin available. You guys don't have any laxatives, do you? All right, fuck, we're gonna have to cut it with Coke. Let's just take a moment to appreciate getting to a point in our lives, like where when we were kids of like, oh, I stole this thing of margarita mix off my mom, and we're all gonna chug it and get tummy aches because there's no fucking alcohol in it. To now being adults, where you're like, at the end of the night, you're like, we have so many fucking drugs left over, and like I have to resume my normal life tomorrow. Do you guys want to take some of this home with you? Like, I'll grab a Tupperware container. Like,
no, literally, I will come home from parties now with like a gram of Coke and a couple of pills, but I only really fancy doing a little bit tonight, just enough to keep me going, and whatever. And then I'll just come home and put it on the shelf, and it will sit there, sit there till I go out again. And that, like, this obviously just circles around perfectly to talking about addiction and all that kind of shit, but like, food is the only thing I can't put down. like everything else I can just come in and out of, give it, do a little bit. There was a friend that I stayed with recently, and we do need to keep his name completely out of it. But a friend, you'll know who I mean, but I
know who it is already.
Yeah, and he had an extra. I'm trying to tell this story without, because I know he'll be pissed, but he had a amount of methamphetamine that someone had given him in trade for weed. And I'd never done it before because it just doesn't exist in England. In my circles, I've never seen it.
Oh, wow.
So for the first couple of days, he was just like, if you just take a little bit and have a little smoke and have like a couple of them before 12 o'clock, you feel nice for the rest of the day, and then it's just done. And you feel quite nice. You can like microdose it. It feels good. And he was completely correct. It was just like, yeah, this feels nice. This just feels like doing a little bump of Coke and just get on with your day. So it was the third to last day that I was there. I was just like, I kind of want to see where the line is. So I smoked meth all day. And stopped at around about 10 o'clock at night. And was up all of that night, obviously. And then the next day felt more up for some reason, and was up all of that day as well. And then was up all of the next night, and then spent the day after that in the fetal position, just like occasionally crying out like a newly born kitten for someone to bring me a sandwich. But really enjoyed it. Great drugs. See why it ruins people's lives. Never want to do it again.
One of the things that Lanigan said to me was, obviously, never get strung out on heroin, but if you do, one way to get off heroin is by smoking meth. Mm-hmm. That you can just,
I can see that.
You can smoke meth through the period of time where you would be physically kicking heroin, and then you don't feel the kick, but then you're fucking addicted to meth.
Yeah. I could absolutely see, like, my friend I stopped at 10 o'clock because my friend made a few comments about maybe you should stop now. And I listen. So yeah, but no, I mean, 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, on whatever fucking
TripAdvisor,
yeah. Yeah, good stuff, but don't do it.
This is one of the, this is like the conundrum about how old are you? You're almost 40?
38.
That's the conundrum of reaching this age, is that being an addict is fucking boring and irresponsible, and at this point it feels a little bit like drama queenery, you know, like you're still going through something very teenage, and it's like fucking knock it off. And also, of course, it's scary and people die, you know, I don't want to just blot that out of the record, but also having kids and a 401k and being completely sober and going to yoga every morning, that's also fucking boring, you know. And people will lecture me again and again about how you know, the slow pleasures of life and how enriching it is, and you see all the different nuances, and some of that's true. And also I'm not yet done with my life of having that part where you're laughing so hard for so long that you think something bad is going to happen to your body.
Yeah,
where you
absolutely.
feel like your fucking abdomen is going to cave in.
And also they always use that same excuse of fucking like, oh yeah, but you don't get to reap the benefits until you do it. It's like, you know, oh yeah, but having kids, it's like once you have them, then you just instantly love them more than anything, and it's like, yeah, that's how heroin works. It's like, if I explain to you how good it is, you're not going to believe me.
Well,
but if I give you some.
The other thing is that you can fucking come down from heroin. You can get off heroin. You can't unhave kids. You can't unfire that bullet.
Casey Anthony.
All right. Hashtag I'm with her.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you know, you can.
Yeah, it's inconvenient. But yeah, I mean, my mom said that. She was like, you know, you don't get to choose the kids you have, and you can't give them back, you know. But also let's be honest here. I mean, there is hard science there's empirical data where they've taken polls of people who have had children and people who haven't had children, and the end result of that, spoiler alert, I'll cut to the end, is that fucking you and I are right. That the lives that we're leading are better, more fun, more satisfying, more environmentally conscious, because you and I on our worst days can't fucking generate as much plastic garbage as a child does.
Yeah,
you know,
if you fully bake one of your cream pies, it causes a lot of problems. Leave them alone.
Just go spackle something.
I've had a friend who dropped that into me once about 2 years ago, where he just referred to one of his kids as a fully baked cream pie, and I still haven't stopped laughing about it.
I really hope that that's what he's going to say, like at his kid's wedding, like that, or like, Your Honor, we had no idea this fully baked cream pie was going to kill so many people. But I honestly think also Chelsea Handler has been getting a lot of shit lately for posting something on Valentine's Day talking about how
I saw that. Yeah, how good her life is because she's not got any kids.
Yeah, and and so many people are bagging on her, and she's right, and it's true, and the data is there. You know, I mean, there's definitely, I do feel I have moments of acute loneliness, where I look at my crumbling body in the mirror like the bottom of a bag of potato chips, and I think, who will inherit this mess when I can't? And I live in
but
fear.
We both have younger sisters, so fuck them. They get the bag.
Well, in my situation too, like my sister had 4 kids, and I was like, man, even if half of them are fucking dealing with you, that leaves 2 to look after me.
Yeah,
so
I had exactly the same thought. I had exactly the same thing of just like, you know, when my parents had gone, and, you know, I've just got my friends and whatever, and then something happens, who's going to look after me? I have a little sister that's 6 years younger than me. Tough shit. You get me now.
Give her my number. But I don't know. I definitely, every once in a while, I do have like a twinge where I'm like, oh, but it's like I held my friend's baby the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw the picture, I think, on Facebook.
I like babies. Babies are great.
They're fine.
They don't talk. They're not
racist. They're not anti-trans.
Yes.
They don't like shoot up schools.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all right.
You know who else doesn't do that? My fucking dog.
Yeah.
And for the cost of one baby, I can have millions of dogs. I can have as many dogs as I want. I can be a weird old dog guy. Yeah, it just seems like a vast.
Like you're not already a fucking weird dog guy. I swear to God, man, some of the pictures you post on the fucking internet of you in bed with your dog, just like I understand because I've seen you in person and been around you and your animals and understand that, I've spent enough time with you that if you did fuck your dog, I probably would smell it on either it or you. But other people don't know that, and the stuff you post,
it's strictly funsies, no pokey. That's the medical term for it.
Oh no, I know it is. It just doesn't seem that way.
I guess I do love my animals probably too much, and I think it's incredibly tiresome to watch other people obsessed with their animals, and I also know that I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I
had my cat. I think you met my cat before it got hit by the car. I love that fucking cat. The cat was the best thing in the world. But, then he got hit by a car and it died, and I was very sad for a bit, and now I'm fine again. So, that's the good thing about animals.
Have you thought about getting another cat?
Yeah, I've been looking recently. I've been on the local shelters and stuff and checking. I'm a good enough person that I will adopt an animal instead of buying one. But I am not a good enough person that I will adopt an old, ugly animal. Instead, so I'm sort of waiting because all the cats on there at the moment are like 7 years, 10 years older, and older. And it's like, I want a cat, but I kind of do just want a kitten as well. And I know you're not just going to be able to adopt a kitten because people like kittens. There's a queue for kittens. But like, I also just kind of want something a bit younger than, half dead.
You're the Leonardo DiCaprio of cats. I get it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Did you see the thing I put up on Facebook yesterday? I was so proud of myself.
Tell me.
Look, I think this whole Leonardo DiCaprio thing is getting really fucking old. So old, in fact, that he wouldn't fuck it.
You asshole. Fucking these cats aren't in a hurry to adopt you either. All right.
No. Well, this is the thing as well, which is you go to a dog shelter, right? And all the dogs are sat with their little fucking stupid faces pressed up against the fucking glass, like barking, looking pathetic, and like, oh, please rescue me, take me home. And you feel like absolute shit, and it's an awful experience. You go to a cat shelter, they're chill. Cats just sat there looking down on you like they don't give a shit.
I think trying to adopt a cat is a little bit like online dating, where like you're like, oh, I need something, but it's got to be the right something. And then you're looking at the cat and you're like, not that one. Like I have standards. We have standards for everything except for ourselves.
It's the difference between the online dating experience for men and for women. Like for men, you want everything and nothing wants you. Whereas for women, it's just like, you pick one and it'll come and eat your pussy. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Any of them, they might kill you, but they'll at least eat your pussy after.
Oh, and maybe more. Maybe they'll clean their plates. Let's get back to food.
Okay,
that was the worst transition. Because you said that, that's the one, we were talking about sort of in praise of responsible recreational drug use, and you said that food is your addiction, and that's the one substance that you that fucking gives me a chill, dude, because because you can say I'm never going to do meth, that shit's too good, or you can be a drunk like me and then hit a wall and then be like, I abused that privilege got taken away, I can never drink again. But you can't quit food.
right.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but there's only one way to.
You can. I mean, yeah, it's I mean, I don't know where I think it came from originally me spending, I mean, I've told you about this before, but I was born with double club feet, spent a large period of my adolescence in hospitals having operations, and I had left leg in cast for 4 months, then have a month off, and then have the right leg in cast for 4 months, and then a month off, and that for 8 years, basically, just having different operations and stuff. And during that time, obviously, the only thing that I had was computer games and food. That was, that was it. Friends would come round occasionally, but who wants to go fucking hang out with the fat disabled kid? So food just became the thing that made me feel better, and is always kind of has. So obviously I'm aware of it now, so I try and be as careful as humanly possible. And obviously I'm still morbidly obese, which I'm always working on and trying to fix. But yeah, it also sucks that my addiction is also my hobby, is also my way of staying alive. I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's dense for you. When you were like I'm morbidly obese and I'm always working on it. And I was like, yeah, some days you're working in one direction instead of the other.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
It's, I had a fan come up to me at a show and he had lost 100 pounds and he was like, it was tough. I'm not going to compare it to, your struggles with alcohol. And I was like, bro, you have it way worse, cause I can just stop, the thing about your club feet too, it's what you described sounds like something out of like fucking Abu Ghraib or, I mean, it's a medieval. Let's take a child and then devote their entire childhood to like public shame, pain, and torture and isolation. And that's how you make Hack Oddity. It's like if it's a cooking show and if we're looking at the recipe, it seems like that's the main ingredient that
one
has
of
made
like
you...
because I spent so much time. I mean, luckily for me, I got the best of both worlds because I got amazing NHS treatment through our nationalized health service.
Keep your voice down.
And also when there were elective things that were potentially a bit better than the NHS would do that, would cost money. My dad had a really good job at the time, so then we also paid for the good stuff as well. So I had like 9 operations spread across both legs. So like probably like, I don't know, was it like I can't even remember. It was like 7 to 9 on each leg. So, each one was a separate thing and took extra time because they'll never do both at the same time because they don't like to have you completely crippled. So they just do one leg, let you recover, then do the other leg.
It's just a great way to spread it out. So like you feel like an outcast for your entire fucking life.
Yeah, exactly. And during that time, I think you've heard of this show. Like, you heard of the show Red Dwarf?
Yeah, dude. We talked about. I'm like
you love
I'm the other Red Dwarf fan.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I became a huge fan of that when I was like, I don't know, maybe like 11, 12 years old. I think that's when it started, and would watch it with my dad constantly. And every time I looked forward to having the operations, because I knew that as soon as I was in convalescence, all my family and friends would come visit me, and they would all bring me a Red Dwarf VHS. And back in the day, a Red Dwarf VHS would have 3 episodes on it. So you'd have like 2 seasons on 2 VHSs. So I'm just like hoping that enough people would come to catch me up to where the season was. And luckily, because the hospitals I was in were quite nice, I'd have my own TV VHS player on like a school stand thing that they wheel in, and they're like, here you can watch this. So I would just sit in bed and watch Red Dwarf fucking 12 hours a day and sleep. And I honestly think like 90% of my personality and sense of humor came from watching Red Dwarf as a kid.
Wow. That's man, that's fucking heartbreaking. It is sort of like you as Tiny Tim in A Christmas Carol. Like,
and I wasn't even fat then as well. I was all normal. Fat didn't come until like 14, 15 after my last operation.
I love that you're like trying to convince people. No, I was a sexy orphan.
I was a sexy little shut-in orphan kid, sat in the window looking across the street, seeing somebody get murdered in the opposite house, and then not being able to do anything about it. Yes, that was based on me.
Your childhood is fascinating to me, because I know you obviously like post surgery and stuff, and like you have a little gangsta lean to your walk, but but it's not something that sticks out as the most prominent in my mind until like we were on tour together and like walking all over the place, and you were like, for fuck's sake, like I literally can't take another step, like my feet don't fit in shoes, like know. And then I was like, oh fuck, I got to be really careful and like not put Andy on the 3rd floor of a hotel with no elevator.
Yeah, I know where this is going.
But what I don't know, as a writer, one of the things that's really interesting to me about your childhood and going through this is that I feel like it's made you both terribly cruel and also incredibly empathetic.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like to think that the cruelness is usually directed in the right places, but like I am always so aware of other people being uncomfortable in situations. Like if I see somebody, like I'm always looking for the person who looks like they're having a bad time for whatever reason in any group, because of whatever reason, whether it's because they're just uncomfortable or because their back hurt or because they're sitting on a chair that they find to be uncomfortable, or like they're eating something and they're not particularly enjoying, like I'm just looking for that all the time, because I'm in that position all the time. Whenever I go out with any of my friends or we go out for a beer or whatever, obviously, I'm in the moment. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the night out. But I'm also 50% in, okay, they're going to want to go to another pub soon. That pub is probably 0.8 miles away. I can do 0.8 miles. That'll be fine. But then I won't be able to stand at the bar and drink. I'll have to go and find somewhere to sit there. And I'm working this out in my head constantly, because I know that I've got a limit of how much time I can spend on my feet when I'm out. Because if I go over a certain limit, the next morning I won't be able to get out of bed and walk. So I'm trying to pass that so that I can be okay tomorrow. And like how most people think about hangovers, I'm thinking about how much time I'm spending on my feet. And then I'll do a shitload of MDMA and Coke, go and dance to Limp Bizkit on a dance floor for 3 hours nonstop, completely forget everything, have an awesome night, go home, wake up in the morning and had to butt scoot down my stairs because I can't walk down them, and hoist myself back into my chair. So yeah, there's a lot to think about. But because I'm always thinking about that, I'm always assuming that other people have things like that that they're thinking about. So I'm sort of, looking out for them, I guess.
It's funny because I people with disabilities don't want to be defined by their disabilities. They don't want to be my blind friend or whatever the fuck. But I know that I've certainly I'm not like Andy the cripple, I've gone in the other direction so many times of like forgetting or not comprehending the seriousness of that you have like X amount of feet to spend each day, and when you run out, then you're broke.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't know if this is all disabled people or whatever, is I don't want sympathy, I don't want help, I don't want any of those things. All I want is for people to be aware of what my thing is and to not assume it's something else. That's what drives me fucking crazy. Is like, if I'm on a night out and we're walking from pub A to pub B and it's a distance and I'm at the back and I'm being a bit slow and falling behind, I don't want to be like, oh, come on, fatty, keep up. That drives me fucking crazy. Like, I know, it's like, I get that I'm a big guy. Big guys can fucking walk. It's not, not being able to walk and being fat are not fucking related things. So, like, I let me go. Let me fucking hang back. Let me chill. I'll catch up. I'll fucking, whatever. But when people are just like, oh, come on, just stop being fucking lazy. Stop being fat. Just fucking catch up. It's like, that is what really, fucking pisses me off.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm also, while you were delivering that speech, I was trying so hard to memorize, come on, fatty, keep up, because I'm going to try and salt that in at the least appropriate time at some point in our friendship.
Yeah. Thank you. But you get what I mean, right? You sort of, I don't want people to slow down for me. I don't even want people to be like, oh, he's fell behind, we'll wait. I don't even want that. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is just, oh yeah, Baker's got fucking weird feet. He'll catch up in a bit. He'll be fine. That's all. Yeah. That's all I want.
I mean, no, that makes sense to me perfectly, because that's how I feel about like drinking and sobriety and shit like that. I don't want somebody to fucking treat me with kid gloves and be like, are you okay? Are you okay? And the constantly checking on me. But they're, I can be emotionally erratic, or after too long in a bar, I'm just like, I gotta fucking go. Or, I can't be ironically, one of the things that makes me feel better is walking or going for a run, or doing the thing that's the worst.
And the annoying thing is that I love walking. Like the first like mile where my feet don't hurt and I can just walk around and enjoy the fucking scenery, and it's me and a girl walking between bars and we're just chilling it. Love that shit. Absolutely love it. But just I just don't get much of it.
Yeah, I do feel too, though, that like enduring that and living through that, and then having to sort of manage that on a day-to-day basis has somehow given you like incredible confidence.
It completely undeserved as well, but yeah. It started off as a choice. It definitely started off as a decision, because I don't know if you had the same thing as me, but I think all men kind of go through, like, in their, I'd say like early 20s, through like an incel phase where they're just completely angry dickheads who blame women for everything, talk about women like trash, and just act like complete pieces of shit for a certain amount of years. And most of us come out of it. You know, most of us pop out the other side as human beings. Some of us don't, but, you know, a lot of us do. And what point was I trying to make?
We're talking about confidence.
Yes. So basically, I realized that, you know, the thing that I was lacking and making up for, and the reason I was doing all this horrible shit and being an edgelord and being a prick and trying to piss people off, is because I had no confidence. Is because I was trying to sort of substitute being loud and obnoxious for having confidence. And that's why I thought confidence was just being loud and mean and horrible to people, and yes, getting laughs, but also, you know, upsetting people all the time. And I realized that wasn't the way that I wanted to spend the rest of my life, is being a complete piece of shit, and sort of transformed that into, right, well, I'm just going to pretend that I'm fine everywhere, you know. And after a while of doing that, it turned into actually feeling fine. And then before you know it, I have been described as confident, which just comes from, you know, basically teaching myself to do it by just pretending to do it.
I remember
cliche as fuck, but it's the fake it till you make it thing. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, cliches come from somewhere, you know. There's, you know, and we have to sort of go back and re-envision them or reimagine them, because you hear that so many times or fucking see it on Instagram, whatever, and then it means nothing. But if you unpack it, there really is something there. But I remember meeting you in Panamint and being like, fuck this guy, you know, and immediately I was just like, hey, man, all these people here are so great, except for that guy, Andy. Like, he's the worst. I get it. That was me at like 21 or 22. That was me, like, you know, at my worst, basically. To be fair, I was not a real peach at that time either.
Oh no, no.
I was going through some shit. But yeah, I don't know. It is bizarre that whenever I see guys like fucking Ben Shapiro and fucking Tucker Carlson like whining about how hard it is, I'm like, really, bro? Because I've fucking made so many mistakes. I've fucked up so many times in my life. And said the wrong thing again and again, hurt so many people. And by and large, in general, I've found that humanity and also the universe in general is like, let's give him another chance. Let's give him another chance. And
it comes down to another cliche, which is, you know, that the energy you put out is the fucking energy that you get back, you know. Yeah. And again, another just disgusting fucking live, laugh, love cliche, but there's truth to it. If you stop being a piece of shit, you will be around less pieces of shit, you know. It's really simple.
And the power of fucking remorse and regret and expressing, you know, just making an apology to people of like, that thing that I said, that's not what I meant, or that's not what I meant to say, or that is what I meant to say. And having had, you know, lots of time to think about it, I was fucking wrong. You know, that's
why we both did the same thing, which is, I think, come to a lot of, this is why, like, the religious aspect of it is absolute bullshit, but the 10-step program or whatever they fucking call it, you know, the 12-step program, but like, it has points, you know, it has good ideas, there's stuff in there that is fucking, you know, good advice, which is, go back through your life and go fucking apologize to people. But we came to that on our own. We didn't need that to do it. Some people maybe need that to do, you know, to actually come to that. But I went through my own 12-step program from being a cunt. You know, and I'm not to say, and like being an alcoholic, I will always be a cunt. But I'm trying to be less of one every single day.
One of the things, like one of the critiques I get from the sober community is that they say, oh, well, you know, a lot of the stuff that you you preach that's worked for you is directly out of AA. And I'm like, well, no, it's not directly out of AA. I invented it. It's
out of common sense.
It's like dumplings or quesadillas. Like every fucking culture has their dumpling. Every culture has their fry bread, their noodle dish, whatever, their tomato sauce. Yeah. And it's not that the Italians stole it from, Mexicans, or Mexicans stole it from Italians, or whatever the fuck. We all arrive at these conclusions on our own. And if you do the work on your own and figure it out on your own, then it's yours. Then you own it.
So,
oh no! What do you know?
So if you get a really, really hot girl with a big ass, and then somewhere else there's an identical, really, really hot girl with a big ass, is that parallel thought?
I hate you so much. God damn it. Whenever I see you thinking, I feel a mixture of terror and horror and like regret that like I'm about to feel bad. Something bad is it's dread. God damn it.
It's pretty good though, right?
We were like on a roll, and then
this is a Long Island. This is a Long Island iced tea, just for scale.
You're like, we were doing so good. We were like getting a good shit, and then you started like giggling into your fucking trough of alcohol and simple syrup.
Where were we?
Let's talk about your show a little bit. I want to talk more about what role it's played in your life, so you were doing like a podcast where you were having guests and doing the what the hell what was the name we came up for it? The last meals?
Crime and Nourishment.
Crime and Nourishment. So you were doing that for a minute of having
I still do that. I mean, I tend to do that every month or two. I'll throw one of those episodes in where I get somebody who is a celebrity in the sense that they have more followers on Twitter than me.
A micro celebrity.
Yeah, exactly. Get them on and use them as a weapon to get more engagement for my channel.
Yeah, that's a fucking pit that I've fallen into too, where I want to just have the conversations I want to have with the people I want to have them with, and like not give a shit about what the numbers are. But then you can see what the numbers are. So then I just did the podcast that went up yesterday was with my aunt Anita.
I know, and the second I saw that, I was just like, no one's gonna listen to that.
and I don't give a shit about it.
No, exactly.
It's it's one of the best things that I've ever done. I am 46, so my mom is 76, so Anita is 78. She's not going to live forever. I hope she does, because I fucking adore her. But we sat down and we had this weird, funny conversation, and it wouldn't have happened without the podcast. And I'm so proud of it. And if nobody listens to it, then fuck them. Absolutely, it was valuable for me. But as somebody who's trying to like grow sustainability or whatever, I always fall in that trap of like, I hate celebrity driven shit, and you have to do a little bit of that to get people to keep listening. But mostly,
if you look at both, I would assume if you look at both of our choices of guests for your show and for my show, and plotted their following numbers on a graph, it would start at the top and then just go down, as you go through. Like, who else do I know who can bring me people? Who have I got?
Also, overwhelmingly, I think that you and I have made the right decisions with what we're doing, where we're choosing the good thing, not the popular thing. We're choosing the conversations we want to have with the people we want to have them with, people we find interesting, whether other people fucking get into it or not. And and I will go to my grave, thinking that's the right thing to do. But
because I'm bringing you nobody,
right? But also, how long have we known each other? And we've never had a conversation like this where we just where we sit down and I fucking interrogate you about your life.
I don't know. We've done this on like your sofa a few times, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's true. The drugs help. But one of the things I do want to get to though is that the cooking show, it's primarily a solo venture. It's just you and the camera.
Oh, it's entirely a solo venture. Yeah.
You're just talking and occasionally making food, always fucking up, and then editing it and putting it together and stuff like that. But you've been doing it for 2 years now, year and a half. What has that process been like? Like, what has it worked any magic for you in your life, in your head, in your relationship with yourself? It has been so fucking rewarding for me having been on tour with you and you be so fucking unsympathetic with the like case of nerves I have before a show or before a tour. And then when you have like an episode going up, you're like, oh, I can't sleep. And I'm like, haha, fuck you. It sucks. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I get nervous about it still. I mean, the worst thing about it to me is the editing. I love making the show. I love working on the recipes. I love standing up in my little fucking stupid studio that I've made in my garage. I love doing all of that. What I fucking hate doing is sitting here in front of this screen and watching myself grunt, make dad noises, fart, fuck up, have sleep in my eye, have shit in my teeth, say stupid shit, not be able to pronounce words properly, and just basically be a complete moron for 3 hours and then cut that down to 10 minutes of a decent YouTube video. And that is, if anything, sometimes more detrimental to my mental health than actually creating the show as a benefit. But, the feeling of putting the show out, uploading it, doing the usual like fucking tweeting that it's going out and put on Facebook and, doing all the shit that you do when you put something out, try and get as much engagement as you can. And then turning my phone off, fucking off for 2 or 3 hours to go and do something else, coming back and seeing that I've got like 50, 60 comments and messages and lots of likes and people talking about it. And what the best thing that I enjoy is when people aren't talking to me, is when people are talking to each other about it. When people are like discussing it with each other is the happiest I ever am, because I can just sit back and see like, yeah, these people are actually having a good time talking about something and whatever, of something that I've made. This is nice. I really enjoy this. When they involve you in it, it's a little bit less nice, because then you have to explain and fucking, go through all that with other people, which is fine. But I really enjoy that, just sitting back and seeing people like, oh, I can't believe he did this and he did that. That was a good idea. That was that to me is the most cathartic thing that I have in my life.
It's wild because it's so rewarding to make a thing and watch other people take enjoyment out of it, whether it's food or a song or an article or a fucking tweet or anything. I feel like that's universally rewarding for people. And then also we turn it into a drug, that you can't just have like a taco. You've got to have all the tacos. You can't have
more tacos than I had last week.
Yeah.
or more
tacos than the other person is getting.
Or more tacos. Yeah. Well, lucky for me, I don't really know anybody who's like near my level. Like everybody that I listen to or watch is way above where I am, or at that point where they're pissing into the abyss and making content and nobody's watching, which is the bravest thing. Fucking,
yeah, I know. Whenever I see somebody with like a string of tweets with no likes, I'm like, you're a soldier, and my fucking hat
somebody
is
with
off
a
to you.
YouTube channel with like 6 subscribers that they've been putting videos out for the last 4 years and getting like 6 views a video. It's just like, you're a fucking hero. Like, you're probably massively mentally ill, but goddamn, like, I couldn't do it. I'm an applause monkey. I need to see something coming back, or I'll just give up.
Yeah.
That's why I never got into comedy or anything like that, because I didn't want to fucking pay my dues. I didn't want to stand in front of 3 other comedians and no actual audience 4 nights a week for 2 years to pay my dues and get good. You know, I don't want to do that. I waited till one of my friends got famous enough that I could then do my show and instantly have a 300-person following. Thank you very much, Mishka.
And yes, you know, I mean, I am a hero for pushing you to do this, but also I know this will be hard for you to believe, but I feel guilty about it. That
okay, you feel guilty about a thing? It's hard to believe.
Just that, like, I got you to fucking stick your big toe in the quicksand of that the attention whoring thing of just,
and then it could come to nothing, and then it could, yeah. And I mean, also, dude, I still remember. I remember the day. I remember the feeling. I remember everything about it. I remember waking up one morning. I was in New Hampshire and I was running the Cape Cod Marathon that morning. And I got up at 4:00 and there had been like a huge storm the night before. My alarm went off. I turned my phone on. I looked at my notifications, and my news story, The Long Run, had just gone up. And I looked at it on the rankings, and it had leapfrogged. It had gone to number 1, and number 3 was Dean Koontz, and number 2 was Stephen King. And I was like, fuck. And it was just like when you take too much Molly, and then it all, but that
hits
would have
you
destroyed me. That would have destroyed me, because I would have seen that and then gone, I'm a billionaire now. I have a thing that's higher than a Stephen King thing. This must mean I've made it. But then I also understand how those things work, and that probably translated into you making about $5,000.
I did make more money than that. That was before everybody went viral, but it did do lasting damage to my soul.
Yeah,
to see that, to have that, to get that huge jolt of like, I'm a fucking golden god. You know, I did run a fast marathon that day, but then also, you know, I mean, when we're doing shows around the fucking, you know, around England and Scotland and stuff like that, and there's 6 people there.
Oh, is this where you're announcing your new UK tour?
Oh God. I remember being a kid in New Mexico. I was probably like 10, and it was a show about like whales beaching themselves, and there's this whale that's beached, and the guy like gives his permission for them to shoot it with a gun. And then he's like, oh my God, it was so fucking and he starts crying. He was like, it was so horrible. It was so horrifying. I'll never do that again. I would never do that again. And then after a commercial break, it comes back on, and there's another beached whale. And they were like, we have to shoot it. And he authorizes it again. And then he cries again. And that's how I feel every time. I'm like, all right, we're going to do another UK tour. I'm like, no, this is going to be so horrific and traumatizing and degrading. But the reason, you know, part of the reason it is because I had that like pure moment where I was like, just turned on my phone in freezing cold darkness and saw that I was number 1. And then it takes so much to recover your humanity from a moment like that.
And imagine having that every day. Imagine, being the fucking whatever, Tom Cruise or, whoever, who every day gets that, like, you are fucking number one, but then occasionally gets the days that you aren't.
That's one of the things about, like, that people like giving Leonardo DiCaprio shit about fucking, dating women in their 20s. Is I'm like,
tell me about how he's a victim.
Listen, we have made him into a god. He has more money than like some fucking small countries do. He can fucking do anything. Like, his name is written in the history books. We're lucky that he's only fucking 19-year-olds. Like, he could convince himself that he's like some fucking Greek god and be like, well, I'm going to turn myself into a porpoise and fuck this pile of lemurs. That he could be doing way worse. We've given him that power.
Isn't that basically what Ezra Miller's doing right now?
Yeah. We're lucky he's not fucking dolphins, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's. I mean, maybe that's what we were building. Maybe that's what we were building this whole show up to.
Not the announcement of another UK tour or a new cooking show.
We are lucky that Leonardo DiCaprio is not fucking dolphins.
What we're trying to say is we have an open call for dolphins, porpoises, sea creatures of all kind.
Hey, you do what you want to those guys. They're always smiling.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
We're so close. We're so close to making a clean exit on this. What do you have coming up this year? Do you have stuff coming up you're excited about?
Honestly, yeah, look, I mean, I'm really, really fucking hoping to get over. I mean, it's only fucking February, but I'm really hoping to get over for October this year for Altercation. I'm making a point. I'm not bothered about Vegas this year. I'm not going to do the Stanhope thing in Vegas. I'm going to try and do some other shit this year. So I'm really hoping Altercation in October, is it?
I don't know because I'm not going this year.
Oh, Of course. I also want to go and do the Panaman thing this year with Chad and Andrist and Brett and those guys, which is, it's not Panaman, but it is Panaman, and it seems like those guys have some, have a good time. So I'd quite like to go and check that out this year. My
friend Marty Shalders was there, and he said that he loved it. That it was so much fun.
Yeah, I think if you can't think about it in the same way that it's Panaman as that we know going to Panaman. It's a different thing, but it's also a lot of fun by the sound of it. So yeah, I want to do that. I had the I'm going to totally drop this in because I'm fucking telling everybody about this. I had the privilege of hanging out with Fat Mike from NoFX backstage at the Stanhope gig in Vegas recently, and he's got a show coming up. And he's got a show coming up in May. Here, I think. So I'm gonna throw Doug as many incredibly subtle messages as possible to see if I can get some fucking tickets or passes for that, and go, because I was like a massive NoFX fan when I was like a kid. But so that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, just that, keeping going with the show. I'm gonna try and get out and do a few more, like get myself a producer. That's the next plan. I've got a guy who's coming tomorrow who's trying out to help me produce for my next episode, and if that works, then I'm going to start taking him with me and go and do a few like restaurant reviews and things like that, and just get out in the world a little bit instead of just being tied up here on my own in my in my studio. So yeah, I got some stuff hopefully going on this year.
This would be so hard to make it happen, but this is what I would want to happen. Mm-hmm. So I shot a deer in December. I've been a vegetarian for 5 years, and then I ate the first meat that I'd had in 5 years, which was the inner tenderloin of a deer. It's like I shot it on a Tuesday, and then I was eating it on Wednesday. So it's incredibly fresh. It's wild game. And it's the best, the sweetest cut. And Hack, it was like fucking candy. You know, I haven't cooked meat in 5 years. I still remember how to do it. Like just sear it on both sides so that it's, you know, still rare in the middle. And it was just like so tender and so flaky and so tasty. It was like, you know,
but also food isn't just about what you put in your mouth. You know, food's about the moment. It's about the fucking experience. It's about the stuff that's tied to it. Like you don't just remember the best burger you had because the burger was good. You remember it because it's the one that you had straight after you were fucking the hottest girl you've ever fucked in your life. And you know, it's about the moment and all of that. That's why I love food, is because it soaks in everything else around it and links it to a meal. So you'll remember a meal as being an amazing meal. And when you really think about it, it wasn't a meal. It was the people you were with. It was the place you were. It was the experience at the time. And all of that is wrapped up because that's how we work. We're fucking animals. So food is the most important thing to us. You know, getting from meal to meal and living and just getting sustenance is what our lizard brain still, you know, ranks as really fucking high up in our experiences, and then links everything else that's around that to it. So yeah, that's why I love food, because you go back through, you think of the 5 best meals you've had in your life, and I bet you any money 5 of the best other experiences you've had in your life are going to be pretty fucking close to those moments.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a lot of it, is that the last couple of years have been really rough for me, and I've tried to adjust my goals accordingly, of like, just get out of bed today, or just put pants on, or you don't run a marathon, but just run a mile every day. And then shooting a deer with a crossbow is fucking hard. And I worked my ass off, just like out there in the cold, suffering day after day. And I fucking did it, you know? And then to have that, you know, I've told people this, that I've had meals that were better, but I've never had a meal that was more satisfying than like shooting that fucking deer. But it would be awesome to get you out to Ohio and shoot a deer, and then have you just cook
it up.
Yeah,
I did something
take a
similar.
week and do like every fucking venison recipe you can think of, from, you know.
Yeah, I did. Chad bought, when I was around at Joby's, not last time, the time before, about 2 years ago, I was around at Joby's, and Chad bought around a big bag of ground venison from one of the deers that he'd shot, and I made it into a shepherd's pie.
Oh my God.
So like the big, so meat, gravy, mashed potato, vegetable, all laid up and stuff. So fucking good. But again, that's one of the meals that I think about being as like one of the, it's because I was with Joby, I was with Chad. We were doing some cool shit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's hang that out there for one of our lifetime bucket list things. Is
definitely.
I'll shoot the deer and you cook it.
I mean, it doesn't have to be deer. It could be anyone.
Hack, I love you, buddy. Thank you so much for taking time to do the podcast.
Yeah, I love you too, man. Thank you for having me on eventually, once you've run out of people who will bump your numbers.
Have a good night, brother.
You too.
Folks, thank you so much for listening. I know there's a million podcasts out there. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you're digging the show, if you're enjoying it, if these conversations move you, make you laugh, annoy you, piss you off, please take a minute to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. It helps us grow the show, and it helps other people find it. If you'd like to hear bonus episodes, song demos, just sort of ranting off the cuff conversations, all sorts of different bonus material, writing advice, personal blog posts and stuff like that, go to patreon.com/Mishka Shabali. We will be having monthly episodes up there with my mom and I answering questions from readers. Yeah.